morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we've got one more Pokémon V that we need to be taking a good old look at. It is Volcanion V, and Volcanion's another one of those, right? We always knew Volcanion was going to get a Pokemon V at some point. Volcanion is one of those very popular Pokemon that tends to get the chase cards. But that doesn't mean we can't be a little bit excited about it and have a good old chat about it now that it's here. Shout out, of course, to the lovely Antoine Boulet for being kind enough to provide our translation here. And if we start off taking a look at the basics, we've got 220 HP, which is pretty much the high end of what we tend to see. And given that it is a legendary Pokemon, that makes a little bit of sense. We got a retreat cost of 3, which is honestly kind of awkward and makes me a little bit sad. And we got a weakness to water, which isn't terrible. Frostmoth decks are still going to be around because Frostmoth is amazing. And Inteleon has been seeing a bit of play and a bit of love and a bit of success in the post-battle styles format. So, it's not the best weakness ever, but it's not the worst. But you are hitting a great weakness here, because you are hitting weakness against metal Pokemon like Zacian, for instance, but you're also hitting weakness on grass Pokemon. And fine, they're not amazing at the moment, but you never know what's going to happen in the future. So that seems pretty gosh darn cool. We are losing a lot of our tricks come rotation. Of course, Welder is going away. Rotation should be like 6 weeks after this card comes out. Welder's going away and Giant Hearth's going away and all of that. But then again, you're a single strike Pokemon, so it doesn't really matter. You are going to be able to use Houndoom to accelerate some single strike energy, which is pretty gosh darn good. And you're going to be able to use single strike energy to do a little bit more damage, etc. So seems pretty gosh darn good to me. So what does it actually do? Well, starting off, the first attack is fairly underwhelming. 2 energy, 50 damage, meh. Is about what I've got to say about that, ladies and gentlemen. Meh. It's fine. It's okay. It's alright. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it's not particularly impressive. It's not offensive. It is, well, it's fine. Alright? It's fine. But the fact of the matter is, it's on a basic Pokemon, but it's not a single energy attack, and it doesn't do 70. And 70 is what we want here, because 70 gets a KO on something like a Galarian Zigzagoon. Now, because of your weakness, you will be getting a KO on something like Jirachi, and yes, I know Jirachi will be rotating, but don't forget we're also going to have Jirachi, which is quite nice. And when you're hitting for weakness against those, yeah, you're fine. You will absolutely be getting the KO. But it's still a 2 energy attack. And you've got options, don't get me wrong. If you went first, then by that point Houndoom should be ready to accelerate some energy. And as a basic Pokemon, you got access to Turbo Patch. But it's not a single energy, and it doesn't do 70 damage. And that's pretty much my summation of the first attack. It could be so much better. Now, you'll notice that I keep mentioning it needs to do 70, and it's 20 damage short. And you'll notice I keep mentioning single strike energy. That is where this comes in. So if you go first, and then turn 2, you can use single strike energy. Either you've attached it turn 1 or 2, or you've used Houndoom. Either is fine. Then you're hitting 70, and because your opponent hasn't had a chance to evolve yet, you're actually in a pretty nice position, because you can then start hitting 70 damage, and 70 really is a key number. So that's how I like it. I don't like it normally. I do like it if you go first and you get a single strike energy on there and you're hitting 70 before your opponent's had a chance to evolve. That makes it a very different attack indeed. But we do have a second attack here, and shall we say the second attack is a little bit more impressive. It's going to make us a little bit happier. And according to Antoine, what it actually does is for 3 energy, 2 fire, 1 colorless, that's relevant, we'll get there in a moment. It does 100 damage base, but if this Pokemon has at least 10 damage counters on it, you do 250 damage. And look, 250 damage on a basic Pokemon is clearly absolutely nuts. Basic Pokemon generally don't do this. Yesterday, or a couple of days ago, depending on when this goes up, I spoke very highly of Arctovish that can do 220. on a basic Pokemon. Needs Frost Mob, but can still absolutely do it. Here, we're using fewer energy, and we're hitting 250. That is clearly awesome. The thing is, with Arctivish, we could just go, right, okay, Frostmoth, accelerate energy, go. Lovely. With Volcanion, it's not that simple. Now, I've mentioned Houndoom, but I also need to go back to Single Strike Energy here, because Single Strike Energy only provides fighting or darkness, not fire. And that is genuinely a little bit upsetting. We do have that new Impact Energy, which will stop you being poisoned, and will provide any kind of energy, but it doesn't do the extra 20 damage, and it can't be accelerated with Houndoom, so it is, to put it bluntly, just not the same. And this is really upsetting to me, because Volcanion to me feels so close to being this amazing Pokemon. But whereas back in Battle Styles, we basically had these Pokemon designed so Single Strike Energy would be good enough, now that we're into what is going to be Chilling Reign, we're getting these Pokemon designed so they can use stuff like Impact Energy, but they're not taking advantage of Single Strike Energy properly. So we need to get 2 Fire on. And we don't have Welder anymore. Now, if I could use, and here's the thing, right? Pre-rotation, in that tiny window before rotation hits, I adore this attack. Because not only does Welder get the 2 energy on, but Single Strike Energy puts you up to 270, and 270 is a super key number, because you get a one-hit KO on stuff like Reshiram and Charizard, on stuff like Mewtwo and Mew. It's huge! But that's not where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Time the rotation hits, those 270 Pokemon will go, 270 isn't a key number anymore, and we no longer have Welder. So we're missing that key number, well, after the first 6 weeks anyway, and we're not going to have Welder anymore, which makes the energy acceleration awkward. You need to either take 2 turns to attach fire energy or have something like a turbo patch. And then we need to go back to this requirement to have 10 damage counters on. Now, those of you that have been playing for a little while will notice that this is actually just Glalie, or Mega Glalie EX, which is kind of cool, I suppose. And it is the same attack. 100 damage base. If you've got 10 or more damage counters on, you do an extra 150. It is exactly the same attack, except Mega Glalie was 1 water, 2 colorless. And you've even got the same amount of HP. So yeah, that's a little bit weird. It's a very similar Pokemon, but you do have a first attack. And the thing is, getting the damage on, it really depends what's going on. Remember that if you're close, if you've got 8 or 9 damage counters on, you can use Houndoom to accelerate energy, and when you accelerate that energy, you will take 2 damage counters, and that will then put you up over the threshold. Of course, if you sit in the active with 10 damage counters on, you've got essentially 120 HP max, so you are going to be KO'd, I think fairly easily is the polite way to put it. But essentially what you're aiming for with Volcanion is one big attack before you go down. And 270 damage, which is what you'll have with 1 Single Strike Energy, is a big attack. But the more I look at Volcanion, the more I go, well, 270 is actually not a key number anymore. And Single Strike Energy won't pay the attack. And VMAXs start at 300, not 270. And actually that fire energy is not as easy to accelerate. And if I'd have seen Volcanion a year ago, I'd be going, you know what, in this new VMAX format, this looks pretty good. Nowadays, I think by the time we rotate, a lot of what we like about Volcanion is going to have gone away. And I don't think the Volcanion is going to be quite the draw. Again, like I say with a lot of these Vs and VMAXs, I don't think it's a bad card. I'm not calling it a bad card, but I am saying that when I look at it compared to other Pokemon, like, why would I not just play a Victini VMAX deck? And yeah, I know it's a VMAX and blah, 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 but if I want to play a fire deck, I like Victini way more. If I want to play a Single Strike VMAX, I should probably be playing Urshifu. I'm not sure what this gives me that these other Pokemon don't, and that's largely my problem here. I'm not sure this is actually giving me anything I can't get from other Pokemon. So I'm giving it an ordinary, everyday, one-in-a-mill, free Wassies. Like I said, not terrible, but not a Pokemon to which I want to hitch my wagon. It seems like the very definition of fine. And you know what? We've got some really good Pokemon around at the moment, so I honestly don't know if fine is going to cut it. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.